Let's get the thoughts of Dr. Catherine Haddon, a senior fellow at the Institute for Government think tank. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So in terms of the process of how this is working, just discussing there with Dal Babu about the interaction between Sue Gray and the Cabinet Office and the police. What are your thoughts on how it has all been going on and where we are now?
Well, he's absolutely right. This is a highly unusual situation where you would have thought that the Met Police might have got involved earlier. But I think the point is, as he was making clear, it was never Sue Gray's position to be able to rule on criminality. It was always a case that if she found evidence that she thought and the lawyers who were advising her thought could point to criminality, that they had to pass that on to the police to either conduct an investigation or say that they didn't think that the threshold had been met for an investigation. They now say that it has. So of course that has to take precedence. But yes, she could never have said, yes, this definitely broke the law. She is not a court. She's not got the legal standing to be able to make that position. What she can speak to more broadly is questions about the government guidance at the time, which was different sometimes from the laws that were in place and was often sort of more sweeping. So for some of the investigations, some of the gatherings that she's looking at, it won't just be a question of criminality. It will also be about whether or not it breached the guidance or whether or not it just had the appearance, that it went contrary to what the public expected at the time. So there's lots of other issues that she will still be able to speak to. But because this central question about, whether or not it broke the COVID laws at the time takes precedent, she's having to put it on ice, so to speak, for a bit of time.
And it's unclear how long that's going to be. That leaves a lot of people in limbo, the MPs who were saying that they would wait to hear about the outcome of Sue Gray's report before deciding what they would do next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to some extent, this will be a shock to the system anyway. The fact that Sue Gray has found sufficient evidence that she thinks the question needs to be asked and she's referred it to the police suggests that this report is not going to look good for the Prime Minister. So that may affect some MPs' judgment already. I think the most important question is just the timetable now. If, as Dal Babu was just saying, this can be looked at very swiftly because these are by and large about fixed penalty notices unless they brought more, bigger penalties against the organisers. Though again, there were different laws in place throughout the pandemic. But if that can be wrapped up quickly, then we could be looking back at the Gray report within a matter of weeks. I think it's not in anyone's favour for this to drag on and on for months.
No, because the political agenda goes on, local elections coming up in May, and also, of course, really important events overseas with what's happening in Ukraine. The business of government has to go on, and MPs have to, not MPs in the local case of local elections, councillors, but MPs and councillors are all going to be hearing from those in their constituencies about how they feel about all of this.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the big questions for the Conservative Party at the moment is, this is undermining business of government. It's a huge distraction. It is undoubtedly taking up a lot of time for people at the centre of government, and it's destabilising. So, it is also a question of how long they want that to keep going on and whether, there is a mood that actually we need to resolve this sooner, one way or another. It's really, this isn't how you want government to be operating when it's under such a cloud for such a long period of time. You need proper process to investigate it properly. And, MPs, they want some evidence, but ultimately they're going to have to come to a judgment themselves. It's not going to be Sue Gray that decides the future of the Prime Minister. It will be MPs.
Where does this sit for you in terms of when you look back and see issues that have caused difficulty for Prime Ministers in the past and the nature of those issues and how that compares with what has happened here?
I think it is a very destabilising one. People have been pointing back to the Cashford Peerages row in 2007, a police inquiry, and the then Prime Minister was interviewed, but as a witness because, there was that in itself they thought would be very damaging, his own role in the inquiry and his status within it. So yes, if you look back at the history of prime ministers, it is highly unusual to find one where there is a police investigation going on into them. But then the entire situation where you have, these repeated leaks coming from inside the centre of government, which suggests that a number 10 that is not operating effectively, where there is a lot of bad blood, that in itself is hugely damaging for the prime minister, for the government. So it's really a situation which we rarely see, because oftentimes when a crisis hits, it gets resolved one way or another. But the way in which this is sort of dragged on now for several weeks is quite a unique situation, and I think one which, is going to be a sort of big bookmark in Boris Johnson's career, whichever way it goes.
Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Catherine Haddon from the Institute for Government think tank.